So you want to do politics? Becoming engaged in politics is often something we do with mild intention and often on only specific occasions, like election day, and around specific topics, like the economy or healthcare. However, if you are watching this video, I am assuming you are interested in taking this a step further. That you might be interested in taking hold of this thing called politics in your own hands. You want to become a political actor. This series will attempt to show you various paths through the political wilderness and give you actionable steps towards achieving your goals. There are largely two ways we are introduced to engaging in politics. Some of us are born to parents or environments that are highly political, and learn through deliberate exposure. This is often paired with access to resources or highly charged political conditions. In these cases, that person is raised from the outset with a political understanding of the world. They are exposed to events, careers, and mentors that pass on political knowledge from generation to generation. This is very much the same way some families pass on any trade or tradition. Since most of us, at least in the US, are not born into such a tradition, I will focus on those of us that come to these spaces without prior education, and I will expand on that shortly. I will also assume you are starting with little to no resources, no connections or contacts, and no experience in political action. If you were not raised with a deliberate political education, you are most likely educated through passive exposure. Meaning, political information came to you over the course of your childhood through passive means that you were exposed to, the news, friends, local conversations, and most likely, your parents or guardians. So how do you even start? Well, actually, with yourself. Once you decide to become political, you need to take stock of your political perspective. Now, this may seem slightly counterintuitive if you've made it this far. Wouldn't you be watching a political action guide because you already have some specific views and positions? That may or may not be so, but in either case, consider the following. On average, most people believe whatever ideology their parents believed, deliberately or passively. Some do reject this, but more often than not your parents will have shaped your views more than any other influence. Now is the time to research your views critically. Examine what fundamental views you hold on what's right and wrong, and how different policies really affect those outcomes. What's truly important to you? What's truly fair? Many people find themselves more left or right as they begin to ask themselves this question. While you may have your own answers, in the interests of transparency, I will offer my own. I take a leftist position because I believe humans find their most natural well-being in more egalitarian environments. When left alone without external pressure, humans naturally prefer to be treated equally. We are even taught this as the golden rule as children. It is only when introduced to external pressures, like danger or scarce resources, that we organize and prioritize by hierarchies. Now, I believe this response is also natural, and that there is clearly a place for hierarchies where necessary to organize and achieve cohesion. However, I would trend towards egalitarianism as a rule, and require hierarchical priorities to carry the burden of justification. So what position do you find yourself taking? Respectfully. Now that you've examined your views and perspective, it's time to figure out what assets you have to work with. Your skills, qualities, presentation, and other attributes about you are your toolbox for interacting with the political world. Take a critical look at yourself and try to understand what makes you, you. Are you a good communicator? Are you an artist? Are you organized, or do you like to write? Are you younger, older? What experience do you have? Any specialized knowledge? What particular perspective do you bring based on who you are and where you come from? Let me be clear, every single person has assets. All of us have some value we can bring. Don't be afraid to ask the people around you. You may be surprised what positive things people can point out about you. Next, you have to understand your local political landscape. Most of us are at least vaguely familiar with the national political landscape. You know the president, maybe a few senators. Your congressman, if you're particularly informed. However, if you are just starting off, this level of political activity is difficult to access in any substantial way. You can still often volunteer on campaigns for exposure and experience, or try to apply for a job in their district office, but let's talk about the local level for now. If you live in the United States, though this applies in many places around the world, you most likely live in a small political unit local to your area. For most of us, this is our city or town. Sometimes this can be a county or a borough. Identify the smallest political unit you live in that holds elections. A typical American city might be divided into something like this. It will have an executive branch headed by the mayor, who leads the city by managing the department's day-to-day operations, as well as the overall direction of city policy. Then it would have a legislative branch made up of the city council, who pass the city's laws and approve its budget. Finally, a judicial branch would be found within the local district court. There may also be other local offices, such as attorney generals, school boards, and sheriffs. Any and all of these may have hired or volunteer staff working under them to achieve their goals. The structure of your local political landscape is essentially made up of all the people who have been elected, appointed, or hired to serve your local political divisions. Thus, it is crucial to understand all of these local offices, departments, and divisions, in total, as your local political landscape. Having identified these individuals, you want to begin to understand them. Often the first political measure we have of anyone is party association, but Google their names as well. What top articles come up associated with them? Ask your local friends and family what they've heard. This will help you not just have a name, but establish the reputation to the name as well. This may all feel overwhelming, but you shouldn't feel like you need to know all of this all at once. A proper political landscape should be cultivated in your mind over years of experience. If you are only just getting started, you should consider your mental landscape to be very new. Be humble about this. Being humble means you walk around in the political world knowing that you lack context. The advantage to doing this means you will avoid unforced mistakes. You'll avoid stepping on lines and toes you are not aware of. These will exist, and there is really no way to know what you don't know. Especially if you are coming in new and unknown, it's best to avoid these landmines as they can establish an early reputation you want to avoid. You may also begin to find that certain non-public actors come up a lot. The most famous are the political parties, Republican and Democrats. We often think of these as intrinsically tied to government, but they are in fact private organizations and essentially membership-based political clubs. Other groups you may hear of in your local political landscape may be notable businesses, nonprofit organizations, and activist groups. Local private groups that often actively engage in politics should also be understood if you wish to build a complete landscape in your mind. Well, there you have it. This is how to take your first steps into political action. Thank you for joining us on this journey to understanding political power. We hope you find our videos informative, engaging, and thought-provoking. If you liked the video, like the button. Make sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell so you never miss an episode. So, until next time. More power to you.